Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar. Then we'll go through the longer range models with the GFS, the GM, the ECMWF, the GFS Ensembles, and we'll finish up with the UKMO Operational Run as well. Now it's looking very interesting over the next few weeks. There are hints we do start to build up a Scandinavian high, and as you can see, as we look towards Scandinavia, there's a lot of cold air around, and sort of we're going to have a battleground scenario really over the next few weeks between cold air to our east and the Atlantic from the west. But at the moment, as you can see on the live radar, we do have the Atlantic winning out with heavy rain pushing in over the course of this evening. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. Now pretty much the whole of the British Isles now is in a much milder air mass. It's not going to feel particularly warm out there, still temperatures around 8, 9, 10 degrees, but we've got heavy rain pushing in. Really no rain at all, no snow at all over the Scottish Highlands, which symbolises how mild this air mass is, but is only temporary. By Wednesday, Thursday time, we are going to be going much colder once again, with temperatures through Thursday quite likely to stay around 2 or 3 degrees quite widely for the daytime highs. But you can see there is heavy rain spreading through this evening. It will mainly impact northern areas, so Northern Ireland, Northern England and Scotland. There is some rain that will spread eastwards through much of England and Wales. However, it's likely to be a more narrow band and a little bit lighter as well. Still could be some heavier pulses in there, but as we'll see with the UKMO Run at the end of the video, it does look like it will degrade a little bit as it spreads eastwards. But if we do have a look at the GFS for the long range forecast, you can see at the moment we've got westerly winds moving in, milder air. If we look at the air drift period temperatures, a mild air mass with heavier rain. However, that will move through quite quickly, and by Wednesday, we're pulling in much colder air once again from the north, getting potentially the -7, -8 line through many parts of Scotland and parts of northern England, and spreading through most of England and Wales as well. Turning much colder through Thursday. However, you can see by early hours of Friday, it's getting swept away again, and we could even see a transitional snow event there. There will be snow showers, of course, around through Wednesday evening to Thursday, but again, once again, mostly in the north and in the east as well. But with that transitional weather front moving in, we could see a brief snow event before turning to rain. And then we continually see these ridges trying to build northwards, and you can see towards this weekend, we have that Scandinavian high building. You can see initially we do have low pressure towards Europe, much colder air moving into the UK. We could be seeing snow showers potentially with that, and some quite harsh overnight frosts. But you see this weather front trying to push in from the Atlantic. You see big low pressure out in the middle of the Atlantic, high pressure, cold high pressure towards Scandinavia, and it's this battleground scenario. On this latest GFS, the 6Z, you see that milder air does win out. However, it just gets stalled, really, and you can see that low pressure doesn't really move, and we stay with low pressure sort of swirling around in the Atlantic, cold air to our east, and on this latest run, we are just slightly on the milder side. So it won't be milder, really, it will still be quite chilly, but it will be more unsettled, and majority of the precipitation will be falling as rain. Because still see the signal for this Scandinavian high still is here, and subtle shifts bringing that colder air more into the west could create a scenario where we see some quite big snow events and some quite big contrast between temperatures in the east and the west, where we can see temperatures in East Anglia or the southeast or eastern Scotland around freezing, and parts of Ireland around 9 or 10 degrees. We could see a scenario like that. Again, it's all still to play for. There is no definitive signal at this stage exactly where that boundary is going to appear, but it's just one we need to keep an eye on, of course. Now, if we have a look at the GEM and see how that does compare, you can see again cold northerly blast over the next few days with more winteriness around as well, and some cold overnight temperatures. Then we see that low dive into Europe, and we see briefly a period of north to northeasterly winds with cold air mass spreading in, but we see that unsettled conditions with a milder sector push through, but we do still stay quite cold toward day 10, and interestingly, right at day 10, we're seeing this low centered over Scotland. We've got higher pressure over towards Iceland, and we could see a scenario here where this low pressure plunges southwards, this high really builds in over Iceland, parts of Greenland and Scandinavia, and we go cold northeasterly winds. That's poised. This high pressure could either flatten and we go westerly once again, or it could hold strong and we go much colder in from the north or the east. So you can see it is all to play for. There is definitely a signal for Scandinavian high and high pressure generally to our north and our east, but whether it does go cold and cold enough for snow is the uncertainty at this stage. But it's not looking bad, I'd say, for early December compared to the last few years, really. The potential is there. Definitely doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of unsettled weather and cold weather at times. Well, however, if they the uncertainty is whether they do collide, really, because if you've seen, both of these runs have had colder air masses, cold enough for big overnight frosts and quite cold temperatures in the days over the next 10 days. If we now have a look at the ECMWF, see how it does compare, you can see again northerly wind over the next few days. Before it does flatten, we go into a bit of a northeasterly wind, or north to northeasterly wind, with a much colder air mass spreading in from the north. And again, we see these lows trying to slide in with that colder air mass hanging on. Right towards day 10, a similar sort of chart as we saw yesterday with the ECMWF. High pressure to our north and our east, lows sitting out in Europe, and we are in sort of the battleground between westerly winds and these northeasterly winds coming in. And you can just see we're reasonably unsettled, reasonably chilly as well. You know, even though the air mass doesn't look very mild, or it doesn't look very cold either, there still is the potential for some winteriness in there, because of course once we have below freezing upper air temperatures sitting over the UK for a period of time, it can bring that freezing level down. We don't always need -5 for snow, we just need cold enough temperatures towards the surface and in the upper air. So 0 degrees and maybe -1, -2, -3 is sufficient for snow. It's just normally with that sort of air mass, the 2 meter temperatures, surface temperatures are not cold enough. However, if we did see these colder upper airs hang around for a good few days, maybe even a week, then we start to see those temperatures towards the surface lower. So, yeah, it's really on a fine balance here, and we'll have to see how it really plays out over the next couple of weeks. I do suspect we will start to see this sort of get confirmed within the models very soon. I don't suspect we'll continue with this uncertainty for too much longer, because we're really only like a week away, or even less, than the first signs of high pressure over Scandinavia building. And once it does start to build, and does start to try and take control over Scandinavia, the models will forecast it a lot better. So I do expect over the next few days, we'll definitely have a much better signal of what's going to be happening towards the first couple of weeks of December. But the potential definitely is there, especially the second week of December. The potential definitely is there for seeing colder air in the north and the east trying to infiltrate these sliding lows. Now, if we have a look at the UK Met Office run, see how that does compare. Again, it only goes out to 7 days out, so a week out. But you can see very cold northerly wind this Thursday. For it does flatten, and then we see that cold northeasterly wind. Could be a snow event there, potentially, towards this weekend. With that low pressure moving to our east, colder air wrapping in around it. However, right towards 168 hours, you can see we have low pressure centred over the UK, blocking to our north, and the jet stream shifted really quite far south. Now, this isn't a classic cold scenario. There's a potential there for seeing some winteriness because of lower pressure mixed with a reasonably cold air mass. But it's not a classic sort of bitterly cold setup. What we need is this low pressure to move out a bit further eastwards and this blocking to become a bit more of a player. Larger and pulling in more of a northeasterly wind than what we've got here, which is just really air in the Atlantic spiraling around, mixing in with colder air to the north. We need to see more of a direct north or northeasterly wind, but he's getting really cold. But as you can see here, that's nothing similar to what the GFS, GM, and the ECMWF are going for, even by day 7. So you can see the uncertainty there, even sort of 5, 6, 7 days out, all to do with what's happening with this pocket of high pressure towards Scandinavia. You can see the UK Met Office run is going really quite unsettled and quite chilly as well. Snow would definitely be sort of something we need to keep an eye on, but really only in the sort of a couple of days out, because it's such a sort of a marginal scenario. So we'll have to keep an eye really what happens over the next week or so. But I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a major flip in the models where they suddenly all converge on one scenario over the next day or two, potentially. Now, if we finally have a look at the GFS Ensembles, before we have a look at the UKMO Operational Run. You can see at the moment we actually have quite a warm air mass, and that's why we got widespread temperatures in around 8-9 degrees and rain pushing in from the west. But we see a big drop in temperatures down to sort of -7, -8 degrees AH50 HPA for about 24-36 hours before it does rise again. So we could be seeing some very cold temperatures on Thursday and some winteriness, of course, as well. Temperatures to return to around freezing AH50 HPA for the first few days of December before we go colder once again, down to -5. And then the big uncertainty comes in. Some ensembles are bringing in much milder conditions, including the operational run for a period of time, getting up to around 5 degrees AH50 HPA, so a warmer sector. Others are going colder, or staying cold, let's just say, around -5 AH50 HPA. And you can see them put together. It just stays around average or just a touch below average all the way until around the 10th to 12th of December. You can just see the amount of uncertainty that there is. Those with the colder run will have that high pressure stronger to our east, pulling in colder air, which will just sit in our east, trying to get pushed away by the milder Atlantic. And on those colder runs, the colder, denser air to our east wins out. Now, in the longer term, though, beyond that, you can see again, nothing too dissimilar to what we have from around the 5th of December to about the 10th of December. More uncertainty, of course, some going much colder, some going much milder, but a similar spread with some staying around -5, others going around +5. Again, no definitive signal for something massively cold or something massively mild. It's all on a fine balance between the high pressure to our east and the low pressure to our west. It's one of these scenarios where it could, if it did come off, we could be going into quite a prolonged cold spell. Not bitterly cold spell, because of course the upper air temperatures are not brutally cold, but cold enough for seeing periods of snow at times, a lot of frost around, and lying snow for some as well. Or it could come to nothing. We could see the Atlantic win out. That high pressure to our north and our east gives us a few colder days here or there, but nothing too major, and we sort of forget about it. So you can see the uncertainty is there. We could be seeing a massive variation in conditions, even in about 7 days' time. As you can see by sort of the 6th, 7th of December, there is so much uncertainty within the ensembles and the operational models as well. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye really what happens with that. Now, if we have a look at Glasgow, see how it does compare to the north. Now, as you can see at the moment, it's quite mild with heavy rain pushing in, then goes much colder, returns to around average, and then stays below average all the way to around 10th to 12th of December. Again, got some of those milder runs coming in around 6th, 7th December, trying to bring a milder sector in. But a lot of them are staying around -5, or slightly a little bit milder than that. But generally, it's still looking pretty chilly. And again, we'll have to keep an eye if that milder sector does come in, or whether that colder air does hold on. A lot of precipitation around, so it is sort of a question between, is it going to be rain, or is it going to be a bit of a mix, or could we be seeing a lot of snow around for the first couple of weeks of December? Because, of course, with that colder wedge of air to our east, if that does take hold, even when milder sectors do try and push in, if we do get that cold air established, especially at the lower levels of the atmosphere towards the surface, that's when we could see even snow when we have quite mild upper air temperatures around freezing, for example, at AH50 HPA, which generally would normally give us rain. But if we did get that established block to our east with colder air sitting across the UK for a number of days, then we could see these marginal scenarios favour more towards snow. So it's all to play for. And again, we'll just have to keep an eye really on what happens with the models over the next few days, because I certainly do feel that it will be sort of starting to be properly resolved over the next day or two. Now, if we have a look at the UKMO Operational Run, just to finish up, you can see heavy rain spreading in from the west this evening. As I said again, main heavy bands are in the north. In the south, you can see a period of heavier rain does push through, but it is more narrow and does spread through quite quickly. Most of the rain should have cleared by the early hours of Wednesday, but still a few showers around in the south. And we could even be seeing some heavier snow push in to the north with that colder air digging in. Could be seeing snow showers as well through Wednesday evening, and more snow showers through early hours of Thursday in the north. We could be seeing a little feature here potentially through the early hours of Thursday with some snow. And once again, through Thursday, as heavier rain and milder air bounces into that snow, we could see a sort of leading edge snow event with snow on the eastern extent of this rain band before it turns back to rain. All depends on exact air masses, how it does mix. So we'll have to keep an eye on that towards over the next few days and see what the short range models come out with, see if the Met Office put any warnings in force before we have a detailed look at it. Beyond that, though, we can just see heavier rain pushing in from the south for Saturday, and you can see one of these scenarios from the UK Met Office run where mild air in the south bumps into much colder air to the north, and we see a major snow event across Scotland, especially over higher ground, for it does pull away, turning us back cold once again. So we'll have to keep an eye on this low through Saturday, for Friday into Saturday, through the weekend, because of course if this low is a few hundred miles further south, that snow line is pushing much further southwards and we can be seeing more widespread snow. So we'll have to keep an eye really on that. And if we do have a look at the max temperatures, which gives us a good idea, you can see at the moment temperatures around 9 or 10 degrees. So nothing too mild, but nothing too cold at the same time. Early hours of Wednesday, chilly across the north, but generally most areas around 5, 6, 7 degrees. And through Wednesday afternoon, turning much colder in the north with that colder air digging in around freezing or below, but in the south still 5, 6, 7 degrees. But by Thursday, early hours of Thursday, much colder with quite harsh overnight frost quite widely, really. And through Thursday afternoon, temperatures struggling around 2 or 3 degrees in the south, maybe 4 or 5 in a few spots, and around freezing in the north. And then through early hours of Friday, again, quite cold nights before much milder air does push in. And you can see by early hours of Saturday, mild air in the south, 7, 8 degrees, much colder in the north with that wedge of much colder air. And you can see that cold dividing line. And if we also do have a look at 850 HPA temperatures, which gives us a good indication, you can see with that milder wedge pushing in, you can see that cold air to our north, just -3, -4 degrees at 850 HPA. And again, as I said, if we see this shifted just a couple hundred miles further southwards, which is very possible in sort of the 5-day time frame, we could see this turn much more widely to snow. So it's one to watch for this weekend. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.